Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Bundesliga Career Mode. This is episode number 42, and as you can see, today Season 3 is beginning with Hamburg as we officially end Season 2. Now, of course, the last two episodes were in the Confederations Cup with Brazil. I did say, as promised, I was going to hold back the Hamburg footage until that tournament was over. It finished in the last episode. We won the Confederations Cup. It was a really fun side story, but now business resumes with the club. We come back to Germany. I wouldn't be greeted very kindly, obviously, after beating Germany in the final, but we come back to the Volkspark Stadion, and it's time for Season 3 to begin. So Season 3 begins with Hamburg. As you can see, we get our objectives here to start the season off. In the league, the board wants to qualify for the Champions League again. They've upped our cup objective, though. That's now to reach the round of 16 stage. So, of course, the last two years, we got knocked out in the round of 32 stage. Now we've reached the round of 16 stage. In the domestic cup, the Champions League, the board wants to reach the semi-finals. Really strong aim for that one there. Reached the semi-finals last year, got knocked out in the quarter-finals, and our season's budget for the new year is £19.5 million. Now, that's not a lot of money, and I must admit, looking at those aims, I'm a little bit fearful this year. Now, of course, in our first two seasons, as you know, no trophies whatsoever. Last year, we were runners-up in the Bundesliga, finishing second place, 1 point behind the winners, Bayern Munich. In the Cup, of course, the first two seasons, knocked out in the round of 32 stage. The first round, we enter by Bayern and Hertha Berlin, respectively. And, of course, as I said a minute ago, the Champions League, we got knocked out in the quarterfinals last year by PSG on the away goal ruling. Having the Cup and the European objectives up this year, only getting £19.5 million, knowing that we also want to go for the Bundesliga title again, just like last season, and know we'll have to try and overcome Bayern Munich, the strongest side in Germany, I'm a little bit fearful. I'm a little bit worried, and you can see our squad right here. It's a good team. It's a really, really good team. I like this team we have right now. I like the team we've built, of course, this year as well. We've got our Tintaz back after his loan spell for the first 2 years, but I'm not entirely sure we're going to be able to match all three of those objectives, and the reason being is quite simple. Last season, one of the reasons why we struggled a little bit is because we couldn't manage to keep everyone fit as we were coming towards the end of the season, because this squad is quite thin. This year we've got quite a few players that are contracts up coming at the end of the year. They'll need some new deals. Players like Lewis Holtby, for example, the captain, we can't let him go. It's going to be quite tough for us this season to fight on all three fronts. We really need to win some silverware this year after being trophyless the first two seasons. You know, I asked for a challenge, and you guys have been asking for a challenge, and this Hamburg side is definitely a challenge. Yes, you look at the squad, you look at the progression we've made, it's a really decent team, but we're still a long way off, in my opinion, from being good enough to win the Champions League, for example, and this year, the board has said, you got to get into the semi-finals, mate. So this is only our second year in Europe in the Champions League, and the board wants to reach the semi-finals. So the board are laying it down this season, and they're giving us tough aims. And again, £19.5 million is not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money to have to start the season off with when you've got 3 strong aims. So yeah, I'm a little bit fearful for this season. We'll have to see what we can do though, but hopefully we won't be embarrassing ourselves and maybe even getting the sack. Still following out, we had a couple of bids here for Yannick Gerhardt and Angel Correa. We reject them both though, as those two players are way too important to be sold. And also Schalke bought Niklas Bentner from Wolfsburg for £32.5 million, and the Dane is now 29 years old and 84 overall. And when I saw that, I was like, that's not true. There's no way he's 84 overall. But yes, Niklas Bentner is now 84 overall in the game. Very impressive indeed. And he was signed for £32.5 million. He's gone to the Beltons Arena. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the season progresses. But still, following that as well, as you can see right now, we're in a pre-season tournament. I got into one to start the new season off, as per usual. Just picked the one with the most prize money and simulated through. I've said it a couple of times now, and I'll say it again, pre-season tournaments this year, a new feature. I'm really not that fussed about them at all, and I know some people do play them, but for me, I think I've played like one game ever since I started this year's career mode, and I think that was the final of the first ever pre-season tournament we had with Watford. Every other pre-season tournament, I've literally just simulated through whilst picking the one with the most prize money. It's just something which I'm not really that fussed about, and it's never really been something which I think I'll care too much about in the future either. But still, you can see right now, we got into the semi totally fine. I was really pleased with that. We get a bit of money for it, but again, not too fast. But also, Finn Porath, a midfielder, is wanted by this club right here. We're going to sell him as well. 62 overall, 20 years old. He's been out on loan, but not really a player who I have any plans for at all, and he can go, and that's totally fine for me. And also Milan, last season's Europa League winners, came in for Fabinho. They put in a bid of £18 million for our Brazilian right back. He's 82 overall, 23 years old. He was part of our Confederations Cup squad with Brazil, and he's a decent right back, don't get me wrong, but if we're going to raise some money for this year, and we need to, only starting the season off with £19.5 million, we'll probably have to sell a first team player, and out of all the players in our first 11, Fabinho is probably the only one I would like to sell. I mean, I say I'd like to sell. I'm not, against selling, if you will. I'd be really reluctant to sell any of the stars in the team, but Fabinho, he's only been here for half a year. He is our most expensive signing, but we'd make a hell of a profit on the guy if we sold him for £32 million. So we'll wait and see what Milan say, and as you can see, they come back here and say we'll give you £28.5 million, no, sorry, £29.5 million, and to me, I just thought, well, I'm going to take it. That's over double what we paid for him. He's £16 million valuation, and yes, he's only 23 years old, 82 overall, he's got potential to get better, but to me, that seemed like a pretty decent deal. So Fabinho is going to go to the San Siro for £29.5 million. It's going to be a record sale here at Hamburg. And again, some of you guys may be thinking, well, he was only here for 6 months. He didn't do a bad job or anything. Why get rid of him? But to me, I think we have to sell a player in order to get some more money in to make improvements to the first 11 if we want to compete this season on all three fronts. So Fabinho going, I'm not against that. And for £29.5 million, I probably would have accepted £20 million. So £29.5 million, I'll take that. Fabinho's on his way to the San Siro, he's off to Italy, and I'm totally fine with that deal, as the bid came in for Valente and Maya here, and we rejected them both. I was considering the Maximilian Maya deal, because that wouldn't be too bad, getting rid of the guy, 21 years old, 80 overall, he's only grown 1 rating, but I'd rather keep Maya here, and also I'll keep Valente here as well. But Fabinho has indeed gone to Milan for £29.5 million. I'm totally fine with that, as Bayern flex their muscles once again, and now sign Neymar for £66.5 million. How on earth are we ever going to win the Bundesliga title knowing that Bayern's team is just far superior in every single way? They are so ridiculous on this game, it's crazy. But still, Fabinho's gone, I'm totally fine with that, and after that I decided to look to replace him as well. Now, I wouldn't mind playing Diekmeyer right back again. He was fine for the first year and a half, but I'd prefer to bring in a better right back than what Fabinho was, and my 2 targets were Serge Aurier and Dani Carvajal. My number 1 target would have been Danilo, but of course he went to Chelsea earlier on in this episode for £32.5 million, so we can't sign him. So Carvajal or Aurier coming in instead wouldn't be too bad. You can see Nikolai Müller here, the 29-year-old, looks as though he's on his way to Stuttgart. His contract's up at the end of the year. I'm not going to give him a new one, and he's going to go, and that's totally fine with me. But yeah, for Carvajal or Aurier to come in, I wouldn't mind either of those 2 players. Dani Carvajal right now is 85 overall, 25 years old. Serge Aurier is 84 overall, 24 years old. So either of those 2 players coming in to replace Fabinho, they would be older than the Brazilian, that is true, but they would be ratings higher than Fabinho, and if we can get them for around £25 million, that's how much we received for Fabinho. Of course, we sold him for £29.5 million, but the board always skim a bit off the top, so we've got £25 million for Fabinho. If we can negotiate a deal of around £25 million for one of these right backs, we'll be selling on a player and buying a better one for the same amount of cash, so I'll be totally fine with that. But as you can see though, Real Madrid and PSG kept coming back to us and saying the deals for Aurier and Carvajal simply weren't good enough. Real Madrid just sold Danilo, so of course naturally wouldn't want to sell Dani Carvajal, and for PSG as well, Serge Aurier, a really good right back. You can see why they're reluctant to let go of him as well, but finally they would accept a deal for Serge Aurier of £23.5 million. Now that's £2 million over his valuation, but he is an awesome right back. He can play centre back, he's a little bit too small, so I wouldn't really trust him playing there alongside either Hoffman or Tar, but we offer him a contract. We shall wait and see what the Ivorian says as we get ourselves into August here as well, and have a useful monthly report, release one of those players into the wild, and we'll probably release 2 of those 3 as well. PSG did accept the first bid though, and then Real Madrid also accepted a bid here of £25 million for Dani Carvajal, so that's fantastic. Finally, the 2 clubs accept bids here, so Carvajal, a rating higher, a year older, and he'll cost £1.5 million more, but probably is considered a better right back as Halilovic goes to Liverpool here. So many big deals happening in this summer transfer window here, so we offer Carvajal and Aurier contracts both. We wait and see see what they say. He's got a transfer offer here for Mark Stendera from Borussia Dortmund. We, of course, simply say no, he's a decent squad player and don't want to get rid of him. And we come back here and find out that Sergio Aurier declined his contract, which is fantastic because we really wanted to get one of these players to sign, but Aurier says no, he's not happy with the deal, so you have to give him a new one and wait and see what he says. He says he doesn't want to relocate and he loves living in Paris, but he could be tempted, so we give him a wage increase. We'll wait and see what he says. And then Dani Carvajal says the exact same thing. He doesn't want to leave Madrid, wants to stay in Spain, wants to keep playing for Real Madrid, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, seriously. We just sold Fabinho. We look like we signed one of these two players. Either one would be a really good signing for us to replace the Brazilian, and neither of the players want to come to the Volkspark Stadion. And Aurier then declines the second contract we gave him, which included a wage increase, and I was like, oh, come on, man, seriously, just please come to us. I know that PSG knocked us out last year in the Champions League, so naturally you'd think you're the stronger side, but we could be the stronger side if you wanted to come play right back for us. In the future, we could be the better team, but Aurier's like, no, don't want to leave. But Carvajal said, you know what, to be honest, I think you could be the stronger side than PSG in years to come, and possibly Real Madrid as well. So Carvajal says, I'll accept my contract, I'm willing to come to the Volkspark Stadion for £115,000 a week. He'll be our highest earner here at Hamburg. He'll be our new record signing as well. I wasn't too sure though, I stalled it initially because of course we're spending £25 million on the guy. That is an awful lot of money. Our budget would drop from 52 to £27 million, but then I thought, do you know what, he's an awesome right back. He's probably the best one we could possibly sign right now in the game, so I thought, let's go ahead and do it. Let's sign Dani Carvajal. In he comes, son, and Carvajal is going to be our new first choice right back here at Hamburg, and he's now our most expensive signing ever. £115,000 per week. He's getting the most amount of money at the club ever, but I think he'll prove to be worth every single penny. But the question for you guys today, who would you have signed in this scenario? Had Sergio Aurier accepted his contract, who would you have signed? Sergio Aurier for £23.5 million, or Dani? Who's Dani? Or Dani Carvajal for £25 million. I'm about to call him Dani Carvajal from now on. Or Dani Carvajal for £25 million. Who would you assign, Carvajal or Sergio Aurier? Because, of course, Carvajal is costing £1.5 million more, and he is a year older, but he is a rating higher, so naturally is already the better right back. But what to you would have been the better deal, Sergio Aurier or Dani Carvajal? Let me know in the comment section down below, what right back would you guys have chose? Because don't forget, at the start of the next episode, after we play the game against Borussia Mönchengladbach, the first game of the Bundesliga season, Aurier might come back to us and say, yep, I'm ready to come now, just pack my bags, and we'll of course have to turn him away and say, sorry, we just signed Dani Carvajal instead. So question for you, who would you have signed, Sergio Aurier or Dani Carvajal? But that is going to be today's episode of the Bundesliga Career Mode, guys, so a big thank you for watching the video. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Now, of course, don't forget the new season, the first game of the new season is going to start later on tonight in the 4th episode of the weekend, so look forward to that. But if you've enjoyed this one, then please do consider leaving a like. That is, of course, much appreciated. Really helps the channel grow as well. Much love to you all, and I'll see you for the next episode of Career Mode, the start of the Bundesliga season later on tonight.